Hello and welcome to part 14 of my Winds of Change video guide, this time tracking the corruption. Not a particularly difficult quest. They scaled the difficulty down a lot after initially players complained. So in the first part there are no enemies, you just need to talk to some NPCs. I'm talking to 3 specific ones giving specific answers. It doesn't really matter what you pick. But if you do exactly what I do, you'll basically end up with the kind of smallest amount of conversations. But if you go through the entire dialogue tree of an NPC, you will at the end get either a good response or a bad response. So as soon as you've gotten 3 good ones or 3 bad ones, the quest will progress. So what I'm doing here is I'm just talking to 3 guys and getting the good responses. So after 3 guys I get the number of good responses I need. But if there's 5 NPCs in total, then there's no way you could possibly end up without having either 3 good or 3 bad responses. So, you can do it the way I do, or you can just randomly click through all the dialogues. Eventually you'll basically progress. But if you look at the quest log now, it says 3 good responses out of 3. Doesn't matter how many bad ones you get. As soon as one or the other is at 3, you progress. And that makes Fayu the Shadow's Eye appear. And then there's a bit of fighting to do. As I said, this quest used to be a lot harder because there used to be a lot more enemies. It's now been scaled down substantially. If you're a melee player, you'll actually have fun with this quest because, as far as I recall, Xanhai, the ally you get, actually casts Strength of Honor on you, and he has quite a few attribute points in Smiting Prayers. Otherwise, I always stand in this corner here. Feels like a good place to stand. Be aware of the Amphar Mesmers. They have Chaos Storm, which can be a bit of a pain if your heroes are camping it, mostly because of the energy drain. And aside from that, it's really just a matter of killing all the enemies as they spawn. So, as you can see by standing right here, I'm so far at least able to deal with 1 group at a time, which is obviously helpful. You could probably handle 2 at a time, but you know, there's no need to really. Yeah, don't really move from this spot. You'll see there's groups spawning pretty much all over the place, but just focus on not over aggroing, and you'll be just fine. Right now I'm dealing with 2 groups at the same time, but they're not large groups and fairly easy to deal with. Again, I find the Mesmers to be the most threatening, but generally speaking, I never struggled much with this quest. Even before it was patched to be easier, and by now it really is fairly straightforward. So yeah, if call targets, I guess that's always a useful piece of advice. Aside from that, just kill stuff. Not really sure what to say. Eventually stuff will stop spawning, and you'll have to kind of run around and wipe the leftovers from the map. But definitely make sure that there are no more spawns. Because if you're trying to do this standing in the center and pulling all the groups, then it actually will become quite troublesome. But if you don't, yeah, as you can see, it's really not that bad. And as I said, it's also been scaled down a lot, so it used to be a lot worse. The enemies still have interesting builds. Using secondary classes, but in this particular encounter, in this particular map or quest, there's nothing too terrible. Occasionally in Winds of Change there will be specific enemies that are very troublesome, and once I've identified them, I will point out to you which ones they are. But it will also depend on your party setup which enemies are the most troublesome. But in this particular quest, I really don't think there's anything particularly bad to worry about. I guess don't stand in the Elementalist's AoE, but there aren't that many Elementalists here anyway. And yeah, Chaos Storm hurts quite a bit, mostly because of the -3 energy. But if you've got a Blood's Power Necromancer like I do on Olias, it shouldn't be much of an issue. And yeah, that really is all there is to it. I guess we'll continue watching me kill these things. In the future I might speed up these kinds of videos more. I already know I will do for some upcoming ones, but yeah. There's a bit of dialogue now. Not really, I don't know, much else to do, I guess. And that's it.